have a motion to open the public hearing for the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Southampton, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021?
So moved.
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
So we have a few decisions that are ready for a vote. The first decision is case number 3106, 86 West Prospect Street. I am recused from the decision. Susan, do you want to take over?
No, thank you. I will if you want. I'm tired. I gave my chairman chair up. Do you want me
Well,
to do it?
You must.
Okay. So this is the application for a 480 square foot swimming pool to a western front yard setback of 27.9 feet where 40 feet is required. It's 86 West Prospect Street. Now, I thought in the discussion that we were asking them to make it 25 feet. Is that right? Julia?
Actually, I believe that the decision as it's written is for 23 feet, but Jeff could, in
No,
fact.
I think that's right. It's
Jeff, you're
23 feet
muted.
for the pool. That's the difference. And the setback is, okay,
Well,
yeah.
According
Okay,
to,
fine. Do we have, right?
according to the decision, the pool width was changed from 15 feet to 13 feet, which
Right,
reduces by 2 feet.
right. Okay, I got it. All right, so are we ready to vote on this written decision?
Yes, I
Yes,
am.
yes?
Yes.
Okay, how do you vote?
I'm voting in favor of the decision as written.
Me too. I'm voting in favor of the decision as written. Joyce?
I'm voting in favor of the decision as written as well.
All right, so the motion carries. Right?
Yes.
Great. Next, so Mark,
I'm back.
Dancian, you're back.
Okay, so next is case number 3111, which is the Bathing Corporation, 14 Gin Lane. We are not yet ready for a decision on that. We are awaiting
And,
the coastal erosion hazard line permit.
and if I may, Chairman, I had the chance to speak with counsel for the applicant this afternoon again, and we'll be following up, and hopefully everybody's working together to move this forward. So I'll be following up with the building inspector and with their counsel as soon as possible.
So the next case ready for decision is case number 3105, 99 Sanford Place. And can I have a motion to accept the decision as written?
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Susan?
I'm a nay.
Of the decision is written?
Yep.
And I am aye, so that's 3-1 in favor of accepting the decision as written. The next case we have is case number 3107. Robert Miles, Robert, 75 Hetty Creek. Can I have a motion to accept the decision as written?
So moved.
Could I just ask a question? Don't they have, what about the covenants discussion?
For,
Isn't that on this one?
that is on 155 Captain's Neck.
Captain's Neck.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry.
And Mr.
I
Chair,
agree to accept it.
Mhm.
I believe that includes both variance decision and a wetland special permit decision.
Should we do those separately, or the wetlands permit I was going to do separately, Chick?
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you had that. Thank you.
We will. So for right now, we're voting on whether to accept the decision as written with respect to the variances. And Joyce, how are you voting?
I vote aye.
And Susan?
Aye.
And Julia?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, approving the decision as written. And then we also have a wetlands permit. Can I have a motion to approve that decision or that permit as written?
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
And all in favor, Susan
Aye.
and Julia?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Joyce?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous to accept both the wetlands permit as written and the decision as written. With respect to case number 3114, 155 Captain's Neck Lane, we are not ready for voting on that decision, pending only a covenant from the applicant in recordable form with respect to a transfer of the property. And as soon as we have that, then we can probably vote on that at the next hearing. So we're on to pending cases. Case number 3104, Town of Southampton, 51 Pond Lane. I believe we're adjourning this. Is that the case, Jeffrey?
That is correct. I had the chance to speak with counsel for the applicant today. Their letter from last week had mentioned the work session. And speaking with him, though, that is I think the board is aware, a local law was very recently passed by the Board of Trustees that I believe has not yet been rendered effective because it hasn't been filed with the Secretary of State just yet. And that may impact the application, which is a long way of getting to that. The understanding was the matter would be adjourned so that they can further speak with their client about how to proceed. So I would suggest that the matter be adjourned.
Mark? John Borkwin has his hand up. Do I bring him in?
Sure.
Hi, John, you're in now. Do you have a question? You have to unmute.
Good afternoon, all. John Borkwin of O'Shea Marcinsick and Bruin, 250 North Sea Road in Southampton. On behalf of Chris Casciato, this was the 155 Captain's Neck gazebo application.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I just heard you, Mr. Greenwald. I was under the impression that we could possibly have a vote or some sort of resolution tonight. We're totally amenable to drafting that covenant, but I was not aware that that would impede the vote.
Well, yes, it does impede the vote. We want to attach the covenant to the decision.
Mhm.
So,
Understood.
so we can do that at the next public hearing.
Okay, understood.
And maybe, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Borkin, if I just gave you my email address,
Mhm.
if you're of a mind to put a draft together and email it to me, we can turn things around quickly if you'd like.
Fantastic. I'll do that right now. Yes.
May I just place this on the record, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
It's Jeff Blinkoff, so it's JEFFBLINKOFF@yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may ask, what the board is the board generally in favor of this application?
Yes, it's just logistics right now.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a positive outcome. However, we just wanted to do it in the right form.
Understood. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Be well.
So back to case number 3104. Jeff, with respect to Pond Lane, should the applicant be withdrawing this application? Why are we continuing to adjourn it?
When I spoke to the applicant's counsel, my understanding was, and I'm asking that it be adjourned this second time, which will be the second request, but I have had discussions with counsel, and I'll follow up again next week regarding whether or not they wish to keep this matter before the board. I believe they're consulting with their client about that, and they'll make some determinations. The local law approved by the Board of Trustees would in many ways change the type of application that would come before the Board of Zoning. So I'll continue to pursue that with counsel.
And when you're discussing this matter with counsel, could you also bring up the approval we were asking for with respect to the town of Southampton, that they had
Yeah.
said they were reaching out to the town for approval as well?
Absolutely. I'm making a note of it to make sure that I do that.
Okay, so we're going to move on to case number 3110, 54 North Main Street, where I believe we're adjourning this as well pending coordination with the planning.
Yes, and
Board.
I had the opportunity to speak with counsel for the applicant about this as well. And we would ask for that opportunity, and I'll continue to reach out to them to see if we can coordinate. So I would ask that this matter please go over to the next meeting of the board.
So for right now, we're suggesting that the applicant execute an easement agreement so as to avoid the need for the variance for side yard relief, aggregate side yard relief, and pyramid relief.
That's correct. And I believe from the applicant's point of view, they would like to pursue the variances through the ZBA as submitted. And we will be continuing the discussion in the next week.
That's the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, because I had understood that the applicant thought that either way, that was what generated some of this discussion, is that when counsel for the
Yeah.
applicant came forward, he said, as far as they're concerned, as far as the applicant's concerned, they're fine either way, with either an easement or a flag lot.
Right. In my discussion with counsel this afternoon, this is the understanding that I have, that I just mentioned, is where I think they are coming from now. I will follow up with him to see if I misunderstood, but I believe they are seeking the variances.
So my understanding was that the consultant for the planning board was the one who wanted us to take it over. And we are saying that we don't think that that's a good idea as far as our business is concerned. Is that right?
But if I may, I think part of the reason that I believe it would make sense for the matter to be carried over is that we need to work out this coordination in terms of where the two boards are. But that's why I'm asking for this time to do that.
Okay, so let's adjourn this for all purposes.
Yes, please.
Okay, do I need to do that via motion, Jeff?
I'd ask that it be done by motion, just
So
to,
moved.
thank you.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor of adjourning case number 3110 North Main LLC, 54 North Main for all purposes?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Okay, so now we have case number 3112, 88 Hunting Street. I do not believe we have heard from the applicant with respect to this case yet, although it's been on the agenda. So is the applicant here to present?
If the applicant is here yep, they just raised their hand. Okay, they're coming in. There is no name on this person. I'll get it when they come in. Okay, you're in. You have to unmute.
Hey, I'm unmuted.
Okay, sir, what is your name?
Eric Bregman.
Bregman?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
okay, I'm on. And now there's another one of me. You said there were two of me. It may be the architect. He may.
Okay. I will bring that person in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we'll see who it is.
Right.
Welcome to the meeting. Make sure you unmute.
Thank you. Bruce Pirano, the architect, is here.
Okay. Can you spell your last name?
You're
Sperano?
muted.
S is in Sam, P is in Paul, A-R-A, and Nancy O. Oscar.
Okay, got it. All right, everybody's good, Mark.
Hi, we have submitted the affidavits before to the department. I think they're okay. So I don't think there's any jurisdiction issue. I just mentioned that to start. So I'm going to tell you what and why and where this project is. Now, can I share my screen, Kat? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me see if I can do this.
If you need instruction, let me know. I'll walk you through it.
Okay. Is that me? That's me, but that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Okay. Can everybody see? Are we on?
No,
No.
no.
What do I do?
Okay, so you choose your picture on your screen,
I have it.
and then there is a green share screen button. You have to press that and then choose which view of your computer you want us to see.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw
Take your cursor and hover it around until you see a light green share screen button.
I see that. And oh, and then I have to say share over there. Okay.
Right, there you go. Good
Okay.
job.
If I had my son here, of course, I could do it more easily.
You did fine.
Okay. So this is a pool house and a storage area. It was originally, and here's a picture of it. Can you see the whole thing? Mine sort of cut off a little. But anyway, there is a picture of it, and what you see in shadow or translucent was the original application, which was 760 square feet. It was there was a pool house itself, a bathroom and sauna, which was 11 by 20, and another one that was a storage area and a covered terrace in between. We were about to appear at the last meeting, and that day actually got a call from one of the neighbors who said they wanted to talk about it, and we were pleased to do that. And we did, or I should say the applicant themselves and the architect met with them. And based on that discussion, they rethought the project and have reduced it from 760 square feet altogether to 300 square feet, a 60% reduction. On the next page, if you can see it, these are the changes. The bathroom is 10 by 10. The storage area is 10 by 10, and there is a 10 by 10 sitting area in between. So that's a 60-some% reduction. I guess I can move that there. There you can see it better, perhaps. Also, it's moved. It was originally 35 and a half feet, 35 feet 6 inches, the setback from the front yard. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it's in the front yard is the reason we're here. And it's been moved because of the change in size and the movement of it. It is now 42 and a half feet back, and it's 2 feet lower. And again, just to give you a quick look, you can see quickly the difference between what was and what is now proposed. This shows the the site plan, and you can see over here. Can you see my cursor as I'm doing this? Yes, no?
I cannot as of now.
Oh, can you see the site plan?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, over in the lower left, I'm sorry, you can't go with this cursor. You can see the new pool house and storage area with the sitting area in between. And you can see the blue dotted line there is the outline and the footprint of the original application. And you can see the setback at 42 and a half feet. The reason, of course, we're making the application is that there are 2 front yards here. It's on the corner. If I move this down, sorry. So in the corner of Hunting, as you see there, and Pierpont is on the left. It's the reason it's where it is next to the pool, and which is obviously the place for a pool house. And the reason it's needed is if you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it again without my cursor. If you look at the point where it says approved gunite hot tub to match existing, just to the right of that, there's a red dotted line that goes up into the house and to the bathroom in the house. And there's a similar red dotted line to the right, east of the existing pool, right in about in the middle, that runs up the stairs, on the deck, through the house and into the bathroom. That's the only bathroom that services the pool, or the closest one, I should say. And that's the principal reason for this application. The storage area is only big enough to store off-season pool decks and stuff. Sorry, is it too boring?
No, no, Eric, this is great.
Okay. And the storage area is just big enough to hold the furniture for the patio and the sitting area in the off season. I'll show that at the next. Just here is the elevation, which is just an architect's view of the same thing you've seen. Here is the floor plan of the house, the pool house. This is it's a bathroom, a shower, a sink. The storage areas to the left and the sitting areas in between. There are windows between. The next view shows this is actually where all the furniture is stored in the off season. You can see it's just big enough to hold a few deck chairs and outdoor chairs. So that's what it is and where it is. Why is it needed? I said this house was purchased by the applicants in 2019. They have to traipse through the house, as I just showed, and also they have a one-car garage now, and there isn't much room for storing this furniture. And in fact, and it's also a long way. Go back to the site plan. It's a long way from the pool to the garage, which is over here, and there is not a lot of storage room in the garage. So, and especially if you want to move things in and out in the middle of the season, it's a long way. And it's, again, the storage area is only big enough to hold this material. Why is it here? It is the least impactful place for it because of massive screening between the pool and Pierpont Street. And by the way, we haven't heard back from the neighbors, that ones we talked to were across the street. We haven't heard back from them. And as far as I know, there's no opposition at this point from them, because we went through these changes and showed them all to them before we submitted them to you. And the neighbor to the south has told us that they support the application. So there's no opposition that I'm aware of. There's immense screening, and really a triple layer of screening between the pool house and Pierpont Street. And of course, that neighbor is across the street in addition. And I will show you if I can manage. Here is an aerial. You see the pool, and you can see There are trees, large trees, street trees. There are evergreens behind that, and there's a whole bunch of bushes and hedges here. It's really immense amount of screening. There is hidden in there, there's a hedge like this one. You can barely see it. Again, I wish I could show you with the cursor, but it's right in between the two sets of trees. And if I can show you more, this is the old view. This was where the old was. This is the neighbor across the street, and this is the neighbor south. You can see their setbacks are actually quite similar to what we're requesting. But the main thing is, because remember, we're 42.5 feet now, not 35.5 feet. So it's consistent with the neighborhood. But the main thing is, it doesn't have any downside effect on anybody, mostly because of that really very exceptional screening. Now, why not somewhere else? Let me go back. There is theoretically a place to put the pool house right above the left-hand existing cherry tree. You can see those signs. Now, there are two issues about that. One is that appears to be also a rear yard, because there are two rear yards here, both along. This is the rear yard from Pierpont Street, the front yard being up here. Where we want to put the proposed pool house is in the front yard, and the rear yard is off to the east. So in talking to Tim at the building department, he said it is unclear, but he thought that this was the rear yard. So we need a variance for that as well, if that's correct. But even if, and I know the next question is, where did these other structures come from? I don't know. I don't know the history of why they're there, but they're all CO'd. The other reason, whether a variance is needed or not, is these are 100-year-old cherry trees. And again, if I can find the aerial, you can see them. They're really immense, gorgeous trees, and they couldn't survive putting the pool house there. Let me go back to where I was. Okay. Now I have some other photos, if you will bear with me, that sorry. Nope. Sorry.
Which pictures are you looking for?
There, I got them. There we
You
go.
got them? Good,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I have them too. I was gonna help you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is looking from the east of the pool across the pool. You can see the deck, or the stairs to the deck, which is up at a higher level on your right, or the right of the picture. You can see the lawn. You can see the 3 levels of vegetative screening, the bushes that are actually rhododendrons mostly, I think, in here, and the first level of trees behind them, and the second level of trees behind them. And hidden away in there, you can sort of see just to the left of that flagpole, there is, in fact, a full-size hedge as well. This picture to the right shows you again the deck up high. It's the longer view. These are the 2 cherry trees at the left of the Now, from these photos are taken from the outside looking in, and you can see the hedge on the outside. This is from Pierpont Street. The hedge on the outside, the first level of trees, you can't even, there are another level of trees behind that, and the bushes behind that. And that's taken from right across the street. There's another one from a little further down the street. And this one on there is at the corner of the property. This is the hedge that divides this property from the property to the south. And there's a gate there, and you can see, if you look carefully, you can't see anything through. You can't even see the house. You can see the teeny top of the house right above the top of that rainbow in the photo. That house is at 30 some feet, and where we're looking now would be at 12 feet. So you can see you can't possibly see it or hear anything from it. So in terms of the factors that you consider, there's no change in the neighborhood. I showed you that it was consistent with the setbacks elsewhere. There's no change in the character of the neighborhood. And again, I think it's important to speak of the purpose of the front yard setbacks. And that's, to my understanding, the concept is to prevent imposing on the streetway and the street views. This doesn't begin to do that. There is no impact on the neighborhood. You can't see it, you can't hear it. So there's no imposition on the street view, which is again the very purpose of the front yard setbacks. You may ask then, the next question would be, well, can everybody just put up a hedge and then get rid of the front yard setbacks? And the answer to that in this case is this is a very different property. It's not just a hedge. It is, again, I know I've said it a zillion times, but there is huge amount of vegetative setback here. It is the only, so, and there, in this particular case, you can't begin to see anything. You can't see the house, and you certainly can't see this pool house. So there, this really, it distinguishes this case from others. And it's also the lack of better alternatives. I mean, if another case comes up that has no alternatives, that's different. But here, there really is no alternative that makes any sense, or that is reasonable, either without the variance to the south or taking down those trees, which would be a shame. Is this a self-created hardship? Not in the sense that the applicant did anything. They bought the house in 2019. This is the way it is. There are cases, as I'm sure the chairman and the rest of you know, that say, well, if you buy it, you're subject to the law, and that's sort of self-created, but only in that sense. There's not, they didn't do anything to make this application necessary. It's integrated, as I said once before, with the neighborhood. It does not strike out in any way. It doesn't change in any way. There are no environmental issues, no wetlands or any other kind of environmental issues. And there's no opposition. I know the neighbors to the south supports it, and I believe the neighbor across the street to the west is content with the new front. That's it. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Do any board members have any questions?
I have a couple. Can you tell us, Mr. Bregman, now specifically, what are the variance requests based on the reductions that you've asked for that have been made to the plan since we were first given your calculations? Where you stand now in terms of what you're asking for?
Yes, we're asking for a setback of, what is it, 70 minus 42. Sorry, I didn't do this calculation, but I'm happy to do it. A 37.5 feet. We're asking for a 42-foot setback where 70 feet is required.
Okay. And the
That's all.
question,
There are no other, there's no setback to the south or the north or anything. It's only that front yard setback.
and the 64 square foot hot tub to the western front yard setback of 70 feet within the front yard is off the table now.
No, I respectfully, that wasn't in the application. It was mentioned in the notice. I think that if I can go back for a second, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this first. Trying to get back to that site. Okay, you see that there was a renovation of the area next to the garage where that car is. Recently, and there was a building permit for that, and also to install the gunite hot tub. And I think because of the existing pool, that was granted. There's a permit for that. It hasn't been done yet, but the renovations to the garage, to the area next to the garage have been done. So I don't really think they need a setback for that or a requirement for that. As you can see, it's 70 feet back anyway. So I'm not sure why they need it, but the answer is if you go through the same, qualifying factors they have to consider, it certainly doesn't add any disruption to the neighborhood. There are no environmental issues, and this one is minimal, if any. There may be a corner of it that's behind that. If you look at that red dotted line, that's the 70-foot setback. There may be a tiny sliver that has an issue. So
I think that definitely needs to be clarified with the building department.
yes, but I would
It has
ask.
definitely been what's been presented to us as something that we're being asked to consider. So
I understand that, but I would request that in your decision, if you are so inclined, that if a variance is necessary for that tiny little sliver right near where the 70-foot setback line, the black line is, that, it's a de minimis issue and that hopefully you would grant that.
But I think the variance request is that it's still in the front yard, even though it complies with the setback, it's still in the front yard and you need a variance to place accessory structures in a front yard.
Okay, if that's true, then I would ask that you grant the variance for all the reasons. If you run through the factors again, there's no downside to this.
Mr. Bregman,
Yes,
it seems to me that on this site plan, the red dotted line is the building envelope, is that correct?
yes.
So you're maintaining, what is the setback from the backyard? Where the trees are? 20 feet? That's what's
I
showing.
believe it's 20 feet and that's what's shown on the.
So theoretically, you could put an accessory structure. Is that right? Or does the front yard on Pierpont Street, what is the setback, the required?
70. That's why the 70 feet line and the measurement line is.
Well, I'm hoping that's true, but could be, Okay,
is.
so it's 70 feet off Pierpont and
Why would you
20
say that
feet
you're
off the
hoping-
neighbor.
Why would you say you're hoping it's true if I represented to you that it was? But anyway, that's what it is.
I don't see that it's labeled on the survey. It's just sitting there. I'm-
Okay, That's fine, I understand.
So could you answer, so are you, so where the lawn with the cherry trees, there could be an accessory structure there.
There could be if.
If
Tim
there
is
weren't cherry
wrong.
trees, what?
No, there could be if Tim is mistaken. He thinks that's in a required rear yard.
That's what I don't understand. There is a rear yard.
Okay,
Well,
so let me interject here for 1 second. The first thing we would need, Mr. Bregman, on this site plan is a labeling of the different setbacks that you're showing. You're showing setbacks for the house, but we want you to show us what you believe the setbacks, and the building department believes the required setbacks are. And we can't tell the difference, and I think that's what's creating some of the confusion. So if 70 feet is the required setback, then let's label that line required setback.
Okay,
And because you're also showing the house as 80 feet back, but you're not mentioning what the setback might be. So it's hard to distinguish whether the measurements are setback requirements or simply existing building setbacks.
okay, the 70, fine, I'll do that, but just in 2 seconds, the 70 feet is the setback for accessory structures and the 80 feet is for principal structures. But I will be glad to,
But they're not front yard setbacks. We need the front yard
Yes.
setback.
those are the front yard setbacks.
Okay.
But
And
I
there are
understand
2 front
that.
yards.
That's a perfectly reason, there are 2 front yards. But we will do that. I didn't put the new plan yet or ask the surveyor put it on the survey. But if we're coming back, I'm glad to do that. I think that's a good idea. The survey that was submitted has the original application on it.
Also, I believe, and Jeffrey, maybe you could weigh in. I believe, although I need to go back to the code and the building department needs to weigh in, I believe that while you do have 2 front yards, you do elect a rear yard. So I am not sure, Mr. Bregman, that you have a 20-foot setback in your rear yard. If you choose for the eastern border to be your rear yard. But I think that's a matter of parsing the zoning code language right now.
In the definition section in the code, it does allow for the owner to elect the rear yard when there are 2 front yards.
I'm aware of that, and I also don't know how it looks like there are 2 rear yards that are not. Well, let me go over with Tim for that. My problem with this is that if this is a rear yard near the cherry trees, and then you can say, well, you could choose the eastern one, but the eastern one doesn't meet rear yard setbacks. So, and I don't know how the structures got there, but again, they have been approved and certified.
Well, I believe in the application that you're supposed to put in for the last 10 or so years, any other activity that, like variances that had been granted, right?
There aren't any variances. This house goes beyond that. I mean,
You're saying that you don't know how certain structures arrived there, and I'm saying it's the building department would have a record. Is it the past 10 years? I think it is, of any variances that had already been granted on this property.
I asked them for that and there are none. This property is older than the house is much older than 10 years. So there aren't any, but I will double check. Fair enough.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Are there any other questions from board members?
I did have just a clarifying point, which is in the pool house structure that's as it's shown, Mr. Bregman, is that a pergola? And will there be intended hardscaping that will go in front of and towards the pool? That's not outlined yet?
You mean those little
Yes.
crossings? Yes, that is intended.
And is it intended that that will all be hardscaped as well? Underneath that pergola?
You mean, will there be like stones or?
Exact, or bluestone or whatever.
I don't think so. The architect is here and he can answer that question. I think not, Frank, but I'm not, is my understanding.
And I must note that a lot of the vegetative screening that you showed us will dies off in the colder climate. So happily there is that hedge that will provide some level of privacy, but much of the rest of it will disappear for the winter months. It will go dormant and lose its leaves.
Well, if I may, the middle line of trees are evergreens and the street trees, you may be correct about those.
Okay.
Mr. Bregman, I guess the other question I would have for you or for Mr. Sperano is whether it was considered to place the pool house to the north of the pool.
You mean where the
Exactly where you're hovering right now.
okay. There really is. Well, first of all, that doesn't answer the front yard question, because the front yard, as you know, I'm sure, is defined as not what the required front yard, but everything up to the house. Excuse me.
Yes.
So it's the same issue, and it's much more difficult to place it there. It doesn't work, but Bruce Sperano can perhaps speak to that more directly. If he's still here. And
Yeah. Hi, Eric. Hi, Mark. Yeah, Mark, when we were looking at this, we really just tried to create a very practical and modest structure for the homeowner. And, just looking at where the current activity is, I think there was a variance granted for the pool because I believe that is in a front yard. And so I think there was already a variance granted for the accessory structure, which is the existing pool. And so we felt like, you know what, if we want to do something beneficial to this property, but also to the neighborhood, it would be a good idea to try to create an additional screen from the existing pool area to Pierpont Street. And that's why we kind of set it up in this way. And also I'm a formalist, and there was a nice kind of symmetrical moment on the existing pool that was granted a variance before. So we were, presupposing that isn't a front yard because you can't actually have a pool in a front yard. We were kind of building off of that. And the idea was basically just to create additional screening to Pierpont Street. So, sounds and activity, but also just, there'd be additional privacy in the where the existing pool is. So that was the kind of concept, but it was really, we're just trying to make kind of a modest structure. And also, like Eric pointed out, its function is the bathroom, just having a close proximity to the pool, and then also a place to store their furniture for the off season.
Could I just ask, when was the variance for the pool granted? Wasn't that my previous question? Some of this to control?
Yeah, I think that the question is, Mr. Bregman, if you could supply the variance.
Certainly.
I'd also like to add that screening is good, but we're dealing with hard structures for the most part. That what would be left if there if there were a drought or a hurricane, if a building is standing, we're responsible for granting the variance that it shows.
I'm not sure I follow the question, because
It wasn't a question, it was a statement, sir.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Sperano, just one question which Julia was touching upon. The distance from the pool to the pool house is 18 feet. Could you just comment on whether that's a distance that you need, or could the pool house be closer, or what's your architectural thinking there?
Yeah, it just felt like proportionally, it was a good distance. And like I said before, there was this idea to kind of set up a symmetry on the existing pool. And so we're kind of doing that in both directions. So it's a kind of negative space between the pool and the structure that we felt was a elegant proportion.
And it's also possible to make it 15 feet if that is more attractive. The original application was 15 feet, but it was a much bigger house. You can see the blue line on the east side is where the east side of the original proposal was. So if moving it there is an issue that appeals to you, that can be done.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, I think what we're talking about is one of our standards is whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance, or whether we can find a way that the variance could be less substantial. But if we don't have any more questions from the board, we could have a motion to adjourn this for all purposes, and then we'll have a chance to talk about this at our next work session and hopefully receive a site plan that clarifies the setbacks.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know, but is there anyone in the public that,
Oh,
Is there anybody in the public who wishes to be heard? Kat, do you see anybody?
If anybody wishes to be heard, raise your hands. At this time, Mark, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, thank you for reminding me. I didn't make the summary conclusion about, benefit versus burden. And what I was trying to explain was there is no burden or impact on the community, in my view, for the reasons I expressed. And the benefit is obviously terrific. But we will up the site plan and the survey if survey is available and get that to you before the next work session.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn this case for all purposes?
So
so
moved.
moved. Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we are moving on to, let me see my order here. I believe it's the Herrick Road case. A new case, 143 Herrick Road. Is the applicant here to
Yep.
present this application?
Yes, Gary Sanders is coming in. Just give me.
Could I just ask a question? Weren't we gonna have an advisory from the ARB? What happened?
I think they want to present, and then what I thought we could do after they present is adjourn it pending.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Okay. You have two people coming in, Mark. Gary and William. And another William. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, this fella right here. What is your name, sir? You are muted.
My name is Gary Sanders. I'm with WH Light Architect in Watermill.
Right. The fella that's sitting in the business chair, what is your name, sir? You're muted. I'll ask you to unmute. You'll see it on their screen. Can you please click on that, sir? Yes, you. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, Jay Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. I'll put your name in. Are you here for this case?
No,
Okay, I'll put you back out as soon as I rename you. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Mark. Welcome. Go ahead, Mark.
Jay, which case are you here for? This is our last case of the evening.
I have a question. Just wanted to ask about a previous decision by the ARB, and I just want to see if it's still in effect today.
For the ARB?
No, for the for your group, the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, we'll bring you back in at the end of this application, if that's okay.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, and there he goes. All right, Mark. Everybody can continue.
Hi, how are you? My name's Gary Sanders. I'm with WH Light Architect in Watermill. We are the architects for 143 Herrick Road. And we are seeking a variance for 18 square feet for the east front yard, because it is a corner lot. It's a front yard setback of 27.5 feet, where 30 feet is the standard setback, front yard setback. If you take a look at the paperwork that was submitted, the floor plan is in green. I can share my screen if you would like. And it's a very small area variance. The current steps and covered area to the house has the footprint of what we are proposing. So we're not coming out any further than the current stairs, and we just want to enclose it and make the entry a little more inviting to the house. We had brought this to the building department twice, and we were told that we could not move forward before going to the ZBA first. So that's why we are here.
You know, I find this house is a historic landmark in the village. Is that correct?
It is.
So I don't understand why you weren't first directed to the ARB.
We went to
I realize that you don't have a choice. They told you to do that. But in the case, go
sorry.
ahead.
It is the kind of the procedure to direct, if there is a variance, to direct it to the ZBA first before the ARB hears the case. There was one, the last meeting of the ARB, that architect presented the case. They told them they couldn't hear it because it needed to go to the ZBA first. I believe Ms. McCormick commented on the procedure in the last meeting that you had, that this was the appropriate way of proceeding forward. So we were told by the current building, the current building department, that this was the way we had to go.
What was the case that you were referring to?
I am not specific. Brian Brady was the architect. It was the last ARB meeting that was streamed. They told him that he was not able to proceed. This is the route that we've done in the past, and it was confirmed by the building department and the ARB. So we did see the last board meeting, and there were comments about you would like to see what the ARB had to say, but that's not the way we have been told to go. That's not.
Okay, I understand. It just seems like
I understand this is a
in this case,
Fine.
if they don't agree, there's nothing for us to say.
Yeah, and Mr. Sanders, I don't want to put you in a position where, I mean, I understand that you're trying to follow, guidance from the building department and follow the procedures as you understand them. I will take it upon myself to make sure that the ARB, hears this case fully, But what we'd like to do, it is a minor variance. You know, I can't speak for every board member, but we're probably not going to have any problem with it, except to the extent that we really don't want to issue a decision until the ARB reviews this, because we think that it's a more significant application for their purposes than it is for our purposes. So I understand what you're doing, but I will take it upon myself to make sure that the ARB hears your case fully. And as soon as they weigh in, and if there are some changes to the application, you will present to us an application that you would be moving forward on, and then we will, you know, we will grant the variance at that time. Does that work okay for you?
So you're saying if the ARB does ultimately approve what we are requesting, that the ZBA would sign off on the variance?
As long as it remains as minor as this variance, yes.
There are other things going on with the property, but as far as a variance, this is the only part that we are requesting. And
We're saying the same thing.
yeah, we don't see it changing.
Right, we're saying the same thing. So, you know, pending a formal vote, we're not seeing this as a problem application.
We would have liked to have a little bit more of a heads up on this, because we spent 2 months, we were pushed off to the last meeting, the August meeting. Then they moved this to the September. So now we have to go back to our client and tell them that we spent the last more than 2 months waiting for a decision from the ZBA that we're not going to get. Well, sorry.
I don't
that
know.
we will get.
Who pushed you off?
The building department. We
Well,
submitted.
that's not the ZBA.
But we filed the
but-
paperwork through the building department.
Mr. Sanders, before I speak out of turn, do any of the board members have a problem with the application as they see it right now?
No.
No.
And Joyce, would you have any problem with this variance?
No, in concept, not.
I think it's going to be more efficient, Mr. Sanders, if
Mhm.
we get your hearing before the ARB and then you come back to us when it's a final plan.
Okay.
If I may, may I
course.
make a comment, please?
Of course.
I'm William Slight. I'm the principal architect. Putting this off pending a decision by the ARB would mean that your decision would follow theirs in the meeting sequence, which was likely to put us into either November or December, when your board and other boards have limited numbers of meetings and compressed schedules. This, by putting this off and requiring that we go through another hearing by the ZBA, puts a hardship and a burden on our client as far as time goes. We don't see that having a decision tonight, which your other board members indicate would be a positive decision, in any way prejudices or would prejudice the consideration by the ARB. Nor does it seem that, since you're following the normal procedure, you're doing anything that would be an affront to the authority and the review of the ARB. So what we're asking for is, in the interest of our client, not being burdened further by delays, which we already have been burdened because of perhaps inefficiencies in the understaffed building department. We would like to get this resolved tonight by you, and which would allow us, next step, to proceed to application for a hearing before the Architectural Review Board.
Well, a few things, Mr. Skype. You wouldn't have a decision from us tonight, so it's probably more efficient for you to go directly to the ARB. At any rate, we don't vote tonight. We wouldn't have a vote until our next public hearing a month from now. And
So,
we have the same
so
number-
how does that make it more efficient? Because if we have to go through first a hearing by the ARB, then come back and get on your schedule, be heard, then wait for another month for you to render a written decision. Seems to me that we're now looking at sometime in the beginning of the next calendar year before we
Well,
can
no,
proceed with.
and let me finish, just because you mentioned a few points. We have the same number of meetings in November, December. We don't have fewer meetings. And once we have the decision from the ARB, we can issue our decision. So I'm not seeing as I'm working.
Are you
on
saying that you
calendar
can
in my
issue
mind.
your decision in one night and not have to wait for a written decision to be read at the following meeting?
No, we would have the written decision ready for you. We're all on board in making this an efficient process for you. We really are. So we're not going to hold you up, month after month. If the ARB approves this the way it is and your variance request doesn't change in any way, we can have a written decision and a vote the same night. It's not going to go any faster for you at this point. What would go, I think, faster for you is if you went before the ARB, so that at least we would see what the final project looks like.
What village interest is being served by your not allowing a decision tonight for what amounts to only 18 square feet of variance and less than 3 feet of setback relief?
Well, I'll give you. Okay,
I don't see where.
I'm glad to.
Allow me to finish and then.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I would like to know what village interest is being served. What benefit to the village is there by putting us off and burdening my client further? Your board is there to consider the conformity or relief to the zoning code, to the setbacks and things like that. This particular building and even the footprint of the stair that we're talking about predates zoning. This building was put up in 1927. This was not a hardship created by the owner, but by the zoning imposed upon the owner, imposed on the owner by the zoning. And granting this tonight is not going to in any way prejudice the consideration by the ARB. They are deciding their cases on an aesthetic basis, and and upon impact upon the neighborhood and other things. Your decisions have to do with whether or not the zoning is being followed, or whether because of it not being a self-created hardship, you can allow relief to a homeowner.
No, we understand our role, and like I said before, we would not be deciding this tonight. We would be closing it and then possibly deciding it in our work session at our next meeting, which would cause a delay for your client, and I think an unnecessary delay. But more importantly, just so I can explain why I think it's more efficient to go this way, and we're not going to, rule on it tonight, no matter what. It would be at the next meeting, but at the next meeting, you'd be losing a month, and you would probably hear from us at the next meeting that we were going to reserve decision pending review by the ARB. So I think it's more efficient for you right now to go to the ARB. But I'll give you the interest of the village that we're concerned about is issuing variance decisions that then are obviated by the ARB review. That's just inefficient for our board and inefficient for everybody. So
inefficient in one way.
And also I would say inefficient in that we have a floating, unnecessary variance out there that doesn't have to do with an active project. But that's my job, really, to be as efficient as possible. So for instance, to explain it to you, because it seems like your facial expression is you don't understand what that means. We have in the past, I thought, as a ZBA member, for example, issued a variance request for an historic house, and then we found out that the ARB would not allow the variance request because they wouldn't allow the project. So what did we do? How inefficient was that? Now we have a variance decision that we've issued and taken the time to issue and reviewed, but it doesn't matter because there's no project. So in this case, I'm trying to be a little bit more efficient and say, it's a more substantial review process by the ARB. Please go there because we see it as more efficient, and we will expedite in every way we can our variance decision. I'm just hoping that you'll see that that's going to be more efficient for you in the long run, and definitely more efficient for the board and our processes. And as far as the procedure goes, we don't really think there is a procedure that's been established where you go to the ZBA first and then to the ARB. There have been some cases where the applicant does go to the ARB first. So we do need to discuss that with the building department. But I don't want to make a proverbial short story long. We're not going to issue a decision until we hear from the ARB on their view of this application, which impacts significantly an historic landmark property.
The only thing I would say about that is that we wish we had been given that direction over 2 months ago, instead of the building department and the village making us go in a certain direction. We tried to apply to the ARB first, and we were told no twice by the current building inspector. So
Can I just interject one thing?
Sure.
A couple of things. One is that I believe the chairman represented that he personally is going to reach out to the ARB about scheduling. Second, I'm just looking through the schedules of the ARB. And certainly, Mr. Slight, Mr. Sanders, you'll make your own determination as to whether or not you're losing time or not. But I don't think you would be, because if the board has indicated what their tendency would be toward decision tonight, they normally reserve decision anyway, and it goes over a month. If you reach out to the ARB, which happens to meet Monday, so you wouldn't make Monday's calendar, but they then have meetings fairly quickly over the next month. And this board meets then for work sessions, both in October and November. So I think that the timing may work out that you'd be back before ZBA without any lag in time. I understand the point. But I really, it doesn't seem, if you look at the calendars of the boards, that there would be a lag.
but if this was the case, we could have been on the ARB in August.
I don't, just so to be clear, and this, again, I'm not disputing the frustration that you're putting out. However, this is the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's not the building department. It's not the ARB. We don't control the ARB's scheduling, nor the building department's discussions that they had with you. What I think the chairman was just trying to explain is that you've been able to go forward tonight, which is, I think, what you wanted to be able to do.
Yes.
And I don't think, given this, and look, you can believe me or not, if you look at the schedules for both boards, I think if you are before ARB and they allow it to go forward, if this matter is just being held for written decision, which the chairman had said could be done on the same night, or written and verbal on the same night, I don't believe you'd be losing time, because this board generally puts things over a month for the written decision to be even drafted.
Okay, well, I hear what Mr. Greenwald is saying. If the board is willing to give us a written decision after the approval from the ARB, we will just have to advise our client that that is the path forward for his project.
Sounds good to us.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I could suggest that the matter be adjourned to the specific date, though, of next month, so that we'll have it at least on for control purposes, so that I can follow up with ARB as well, and also with Mr. Slight, Mr. Sanders, to keep everybody informed.
No problem. So can I have a motion to adjourn this for all purposes until next month's public hearing?
So moved.
And all in favor?
Second,
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Thank you. I think that's it for our agenda, but we do have Mr. Fitzpatrick who wanted to.
Yep, I'll bring him in just a second. No. Okay. As soon as the computer generates him in. Hello, Mr. Fitzpatrick. You have to unmute, sir. Here, I'll send you the link again to unmute.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to try to be very quick with this. This is a question. My name is Jay Fitzpatrick. I live at 243 Elm Street. And the reference project is 256 Elm Street, which is the social club.
This is not before us.
I know, is the question. I just wanted to ask the question if I could, and I'll try to be real quick.
No, go ahead. I think we also have an email from you.
Okay. The certificate of occupancy was issued in 2002 by Chris Talbot, and it refers to a zoning board of decision number 2146. This is the decision 2146 by the zoning board. In 2020, another certificate was issued also to 256 Elm Street, and that decision has been left off. It's no longer on the certificate of occupancy. My question is that still in effect? Or, when I talked to the building department, they said that no variances have been issued, no rescinding of the decision has been made. And my question is this still in effect? This decision 2146 made by the zoning board of authority back in 2002.
So what we can say tonight is we'll look into it, because I did look at this paperwork, but you have the documents and that's great, but we'll pull the documents as well and take a look and see what our best procedure is.
Okay, and I believe I sent you the documents also, so you may have them.
Then I have to, I saw the email, I didn't see the attachments, but I'll
You
look.
didn't get the attachment.
I sent them to Jackie, but I think she may be out of the office. I'm not sure.
She is.
Okay, but
Yeah, we'll
Derek.
follow up with her.
okay, thank you.
No.
Thank you all.
So can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Southampton, Thursday, September 23rd?
So moved to close it.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.